At this moment, the great tale of our age is being written.
You think it was only you who put yourself in my power? Galadriel.
Jennifer Walden here for Mixed Sessions Emmy Award season virtual event. Joining me are members of the Post Sound team on Amazon Prime Video's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2. We have supervising sound editors, designers Glenn Fremantle and Ben Barker, and re-recording mixer Richard Spooner. Hey y'all, thanks for being here to have a chat about Season 2.
Thank you.
There's so much established in sound with this franchise, and there's 6 films, including the Hobbit films. There's, of course, Season 1 of The Rings of Power. So there's so much already here. There's a lot of inspiration to draw from. But what did you want to bring to this franchise sound-wise?
Well, it was just putting our own stamp on something. Obviously, like you say, the worlds were already created, and there was a lot of sound that you would be familiar with Lord of the Rings, but throughout the films and TV series, but we wanted to take that on board, but also take it to another level. And the showrunners were keen to do that, to let us express ourselves while staying true to the world. Obviously, we can't deviate too far, but just to give it that new feel and that new feeling.
You want some more depth in the location, in the different areas, so the worlds are more prominent. I think we wanted, try and bring more weight, more dynamics if we could within it. And that's where that was our starting point.
Richard, anything to add? What did you want to bring to it?
Oh no, I didn't. No, I mean, I kind of wasn't really part of that. That came on at the end.
You came out later, yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Let's talk about your sound work on The Rings. So, how did you differentiate the sound of the rings for like the elves, the dwarves, and man? And then also, how did you keep Sauron's influence over the rings in the sound? How did that influence kind of contribute to your design on the rings?
Yeah, well, we had to give each one of those their sort of individual signature sound, really. So each ring for each character had a different, very subtle, different sound to it. Yeah, we worked a lot with tones, and we went back and forth with the showrunners a lot, and played them lots of ideas. And with the Sauron theme as well, it was about having that sort of dark, ominous presence to it. So, albeit very subtle, but there's always a feeling of that when he's in the room, when there's his presence is over the rings.
So you had mentioned something about recording some dark elvish language to put under the rings. You had recorded some loop group or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. We had a very talented lady called Leith who helped us with all the language throughout the show. And we recorded a lot of whispers, and she wrote some dialogue, which was then spoken, obviously, by the loop groups and by ourselves occasionally. Just to give it that sort of
them in pouches, wasn't it?
Yeah, the dark, ominous presence. Yeah, so it was everything was constructed. So it wasn't just the tonal sounds, but it was the whispers which were written and played a part in it as well.
And obviously the showrunners are so knowledgeable, aren't they?
Yeah.
They know everything inside out as well. So they're always guiding.
Did you open any dark portals in the ADR room?
I don't know. A few people were missing.
Yeah,
so,
we had to close one.
Richard, how about mixing those sounds into the sound of the rings? Was there anything that you did on the dub stage to help blend those in and make it feel like part of the enchantment?
I didn't actually mix those, so I don't really know what they were in the. Were they in the effects?
Yeah, they were.
They were in the effects.
Yeah.
Which Neve did. So
they were.
I mean, they're obviously very treated, and really it was the texture, wasn't it? Just to kind of give a feeling of that they had some kind of personality, I think.
Yeah.
the little verbs type one, you know, various. Actually, one of the things we kept playing with because the showrunners were very into that, weren't they?
Yeah,
You know, so you know, over a period of time, we'd always be manipulating them a bit. You know, it was a process that they, you know, you knew it when you got there, or they, you know, they liked it. So, but it was a lot of little filler. We did quite a lot of times. We recorded quite a lot of it, you know, to get it right. And then sometimes we had a lot more in at one point, and then we took something out, didn't we? You know.
Yeah.
So it's so over the top. You know, it's like everything in making these films. It's experiment, don't you? And
the sound progressed as the
shows went on.
The shows went on, yeah. So we started off very subtle, but then as the story or each storyline progressed, it would then elevate each episode.
Awesome. Let's talk about episode 207, Doomed to Die. So this was one of the bigger episodes in the season. It's dominated by this battle between the orcs and the elves. It takes up like most of the episode. So can you talk about mixing these battle scenes in Dolby Atmos? Like how were you able to use the Atmos surround field to make these battles more engaging for the audience?
I mean, obviously, it's different to theatrical Atmos. We were in a theatrical Atmos room, but I guess you just got that other dimension where you know, you can use the heights and the better surrounds.
It's to create scale, you know. Much, you know, I mean that episode took a long time to shoot, you know, and it was more like it was a film, really, rather than an episode, you know. And it was made on a cinematic level of the shoot and everything, and the sound had to, you know, we wanted it to be, you know, as dynamic as we possibly could. So it has got a lot of width, you know. It's got a huge amount of as much weight as you can get in. We did do a full range version of it as well, but yeah, it's a scale, wasn't it? Keep creating the width with everything, and also trying to keep the detail within. Although it's a very chaotic fight, there's lots going on. You always want to try and pull the audience into the, you know, the main part and the clarity, and then wait. So those sort of sequences are very easy, and you've probably seen them where they become just too much noise all the time that you can't focus on the minutiae where you want to focus on that fight or that hit or that strike or that what's it called again, those catapults, trebuchets, and you know. So you want to hear all the mechanisms, and you know, it's really about focusing, but within that whole battle, and that's you know, that's quite a thing to get done, because when it's, you know, and that's a long episode. It's like, I think it's the length of a film nearly. So that was, yeah, we spent a lot of time making sure each individual piece of action had its time, you know.
And listen, it was like a film. And did your schedule, you know, of course it wasn't a film schedule, but did you have sufficient time, do you feel, to, you know, really attack that episode the way that you wanted?
Well, we made the time, didn't we, really?
Yeah.
But we had time, and not, you know, obviously not much time we've had to say, if, you know, we'd done it for film. Obviously, we're used to doing films a lot. But from our end, there was no taking any short corners at all.
No, we had a lot of premix time.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was no
for that episode.
There was no. Everything was done to every part of detail we could. You know, every little bit, every little sound.
Yeah, we made the time, didn't we? Because we wanted to put in, the episode deserved it, really.
Yeah. So we went over it, really, to be honest with you. But you can't let an episode like that, or a, you know, sequence like that. You've got to give it the love, you know. You know, because we're all proud, aren't we? You want to sit back and go, yeah, we've done our best there, you know. And that's the most important thing ever, whenever you do anything.
I mean, I just think it's so amazing. It sounds so good, and knowing that you're on a shorter schedule, just that you can achieve something so incredible, so just epic in a shorter amount of time. It's, you know, job well done, man.
Well, we've got a great team as well, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
And our team worked together for a long time, and they were all fanatics as well, weren't they? You know? So we shot a lot of details. We recorded loads of fire. We had fire people in. We had all sorts of to try and make everything we could, new and bright and sharp and weighty. So it was good fun from that point of view. You just let it go, and obviously the films are a big thing to come off of, and within the format that when we wanted to do, that and more, so as you always do.
Well, Richard, I loved the sound of the arrows. I thought those they sounded so great in like Dolby Atmos space. So, great job.
Yeah,
I mean,
we recorded those.
Yeah, they were all recorded. All lots of tracks, lots of detail there on the.
Yeah, well, that was an example of using the Atmos, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the movement.
Yeah.
And we had we were luckily we had an area out in the middle of nowhere, didn't we?
Yeah.
Where we could whiz things off into the air without shooting anybody, so that was handy.
So you got to go out and record some arrows?
Yeah.
Yeah? How'd that go? Well, it sounded great, so I guess it went well.
I broke a bow, I think.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it's fine. Yeah. It's good. You got to try and get everything, so which we always try to. So.
I mean, you always try and get a bespoke sound
each time. We did. Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in this episode was the troll scene. So, the orcs, they released this giant troll, and everyone's kind of afraid. Like, he just doesn't care who gets in the way. He just smashes like everyone around him. So how were you able to have some fun with this scene? What went into the sound of the troll? Let's start there.
Well, vocally, it was actually our VFX supervisor, Jason, who did the vocals for that. I think he sort of designed the character completely, so he had a vision of how it was vocally sounded. And then we put some design and weight and...
it wasn't actually that much, was it? No. I think we tried a lot of different things. But actually, he did a really good job. So it was just a bit of pitch in there, I think.
Yeah. And then it was just making sure that everything that the troll smashed or hit or banged had obviously that size as well to match not only his personality but the size of him.
Yeah,
and we also had to match that music track that was in there, which was pretty weighty and useful.
Yeah, the score's big in these as well, But there is a lot of space where there is space for it all the time, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, he wrote it in a way, a lot of it that you could think that there's the space to do the sounds, because that can be difficult as well if you've got a massive score just going everywhere. You've got to find that balance between the two that everyone can enjoy the experience. From the sound design, visceral of it, to the scale of the music and the choirs and everything.
Smashing, bashing, big music track. It's just full on, and how do you rein that in?
Yeah. Well, you do it bit by bit, don't you? It's focusing. It's like it's focusing. Like I said earlier, what needs to be, what's important at that moment is, and then moving on to another piece. So that you could keep the definition, wasn't it? Like I said, you don't want it to just become a melee. You want to be able to figure out where everything is, and that takes time. And like I said, we had more time than you get on a normal TV show. To be, otherwise we'd never done it. But, and also you're waiting for the visual effects all the time as well, aren't you, on these shows as they're coming in?
So,
yeah.
Was there any?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. But, yeah.
I say, was there any particularly late VFX scenes that kind of tripped you up? Some that got delivered to the stage pretty late, and you're like, oh man, that kind of came out of left field.
Yeah, we have the damming of the river at the beginning, but to be honest, most of it had a great shape already. So we had an idea of what things were going to look like and how it was going to play. So in that respect, it was business as usual kind of thing. So
Yeah, they were very organised. You know, things. But we always had a little pick-up day, didn't we, to go back?
Yeah.
And for on the mix, that there was sort of one put in that for the final visual effects pass, we would go back in and tweak the bits that needed tweaking that we hadn't seen before, or they were probably ones. But yeah, that worked out fine.
And so, what was your biggest creative challenge on season 2, sound-wise?
I guess it was just sort of setting out all the worlds really, and then because you have to think from episode 1 to episode 8, so it's not just making it work for one episode. So I think it was just giving everything its own bespoke sound and individual feel to it, and something that could not only go through the series but then evolve as well as the storyline evolved. So yeah, that was quite a challenge because as you know, there's a lot going on in this story. So yeah, to do that was quite a challenge.
So, of course, the episodes were released weekly, but how did you work on them? Did you get them in chronological order? Were they given to you out of order? Was everything kind of done before they started airing each episode 1 week at a time?
Yeah, we kind of we worked on them chronologically. We had a period of track laying, and then we started mixing, and then we were still working on the design as the mix progressed as well. So yeah, I think the show it was kind of split into the 2 groups of 4 really, from memory.
Yeah.
So we had the sort of first 4 shows, sort of ADR'd and Foley'd and ready to go. And then mixing started.
Yeah, and we had 2 crews mixing. So 2 separate. So we had 2 separate crews. So one will be pre-mixed and then final, and the other one will be pre-mixed and then crossing over. So I had to keep up with that one, so we got going. But we had a bit of time before that. But once we did start mixing, it was like a continuous
juggernaut.
Yeah, and it definitely was. Yeah, but it made it. I mean, because you're working on, you go away. You hadn't finished. Obviously, we hadn't finished shows once we started working, so we have still some of the film we didn't have, did we? Until later on, So
it allowed us to sort of create along the way as well. I think, sort of hear things in the mix and then go, okay, that's a good idea, and we can evolve it a little bit for later episodes. And stuff. So once it got going, there was certain episodes had more time than others. I think some of the earlier ones were didn't have quite so much action, and then the bigger ones we had more time, didn't we? More time to mix.
But as you say, you made more time than the other episodes.
Yeah, we moved it around a bit so that we could, and also for the Foley, and also, Emily, our dialogue editor, it was a mammoth job on the ADR and the dial on that show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was unbelievable.
And the crowd, especially 207.
It was monstrous, the amount of work that went in there, and the dialogue side, editing side of it, Emily and the crew there, it was just full on for the whole everything, There's so much of it. It was nearly overwhelming, I think, in a way. I'd never seen so much been done in all my years of doing it like that. So
and all the different languages. And all the different accents. All the dwarves have to have a particular accent, Scottish accent, and it's the detail is really there.
Yeah, the dialogue team grew a bit when we knew, because there'd be a lot more extra writing going on when we were doing it as well, wouldn't there? Or ideas coming, and so that was continuous. And hats off to them; they did a fantastic job. Yeah.
And a lot of these crowds are happening outside, just looking at episode 7, Doomed to Die, you got these huge battle crowds. Did you shoot all of the ADR in the studio, or did you actually shoot some of it outside? Yeah,
we did we did the sort of general ADR and loop group for the episode, but then we did a designated outdoor shoot for the battles all the way through. So we planned it all out. We got on Leith again, who I mentioned, our dialect coach, and knew all the languages of the Tolkien books. And then we sort of created this plan to shoot pretty much everything as we saw it as in the edit. So that was as meticulous as the sound design, really putting all that together.
That's so awesome.
You can do all that weight and everything inside, could you? Outside with loads of people going mad.
Yeah.
Trying to find all those orcs was difficult.
Yeah.
And what about on the mix side? Like the show, it plays out on such an epic scale, but it's intended for, home theaters, for home audiences. What were some of the challenges of making this work for the home audience, or, making the most of the surround format to play back on smaller speaker sets?
Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned Atmos earlier, but really, we had a TV soundbar out the back, which we were listening to all the time in stereo. So, I mean, that is your main audience is going to be listening on headphones, iPads, TVs. So it's super important that it all folds down and works on anything really. And obviously, dialogue making, especially 207, it's very important, the whole story, and so you've got to hear every word. Everything's got to be clear.
It's trying to keep all the dynamics in it, isn't it? And it's difficult for that TV media to get all the weight that you want in it, and that cinema allows you, and so you're squishing it and squashing it and doing the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're only you've got to deliver dialogue norms. The only thing they're actually measuring, and actually I think that Amazon didn't QC the Atmos mix. I believe that they only really QC the 5.1 and the stereo, so you can actually go quite big on the Atmos effects wise. But actually, I think the point, I think the quieter scenes in 207 are really good. I mean, they're actually my favourite part, when Killer Brimbore's being deceived, and I think it's Atmos is in those moments is also the detail. You can really put a lot of detail in there, in the reverbs and everything.
Yeah, one of my favorite quiet scenes is when he realizes that his only escape is to cut his own thumb off.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if there was a lot of talking in that scene. It was just like all in his, facial expressions, like, yeah, I got to do this.
Yeah, we recorded that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way to take one for the team.
One take only. That was.
Yeah.
That was two.
I'm all right to go.
So, there's so many great episodes in season 2. Of all the episodes, why did you choose Doomed to Die for Emmy consideration? What stands out sound-wise for you in this episode?
The amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, probably the dynamic range of it. You mean picture there's these beautiful silent scenes because they're in a bubble in there, and the tiny little bit of details of everything, and then there's this mass and there's this weight. So you've got this massive spectrum of sound that it does everything. I think that's one of this, and he shows it off to a great effect of like you say, they with the tiny ring, there's this bit, every tiny little bit in there, and then mayhem, So they had that really, had it all that sound can deliver, because making something quiet and beautiful, it's not as easy as everyone thinks either, and interesting at the same time. It's just as hard, to get it right, and it does that on the past over the whole film, the episode. Still call it a film. There you go.
Indeed. Awesome. Well, Ben, Glenn, Richard, thank you guys so much for having this chat with me about The Rings of Power Season 2, and best of luck to you this award season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.